Hi, IWF. We're here today with Amanda Altman. Welcome, Amanda.
Thank you.
Tell us about your professional journey, the journey from, your family background, where you're from, how you got here, what you're doing now.
So I've had an interesting journey. I'm originally from the Midwest, so I grew up in and around St. Louis, Missouri. I never really planned to leave there, so I went to college and law school in St. Louis. Started clerking for a judge, a federal judge in St. Louis, and then circumstances took me to Cleveland, Ohio, and I practiced law in kind of commercial litigation there for about 5 years. And I found myself in an interesting position at that point, and I was like barely 30 years old, and not in love with Cleveland, Ohio. No offense to anybody who's from there, but decided I wanted to leave. And my first thought was to go back to St. Louis, where much of my family still was. But instead, I thought, well, it's like the time in my life. If I'm going to try something different, I ought to do it now. And so I started looking for jobs, and I was kind of interested in a government position at the time, getting out of private practice. And so, of course, DC or New York would have been a natural fit. So I looked there, but I also was looking in Miami, and it just so happened that the U.S. Attorney's Office in Miami was going through kind of a hiring spree at that moment. So I took a position there, but actually in the civil division of the U.S. Attorney's Office. So it's an assistant U.S. attorney, which was a great position. I absolutely loved it. And from there, I went on and back into private practice and worked at the Ferraro Law Firm for quite a few years, where I did a lot of asbestos and tobacco litigation. Listen, I had a fabulous career as a lawyer. I was so incredibly fortunate. But at some point, I decided it wasn't fulfilling me. I was a little burned out. As you might be able to understand, Melanie, from the litigation world. I was traveling a whole lot. And so that was interfering a lot with my personal life. I just wasn't as passionate about that as I was about some other things. And one of the deals I made with myself when I moved to Miami, I didn't know a single person here. So it was a little intimidating, but I really thought I have to give this place a fair shot. And so I need to get involved with the community here. And so I did immediately from the moment I moved here. I started off in some little things and started meeting people, and then I ultimately joined the Junior League of Miami, and that really helped me spread my wings and get involved with a lot of different nonprofits. And so that's where my passion was really with a lot of the nonprofit work that I was doing. And about 5 years ago, I decided it was time for me to leave practicing law and really look for something that was just more in line with where my passion was and what was fulfilling to me. And the CEO of Kristi House at the time was ready to retire. And so it all kind of worked out very nicely for me. And for anybody who doesn't know, Kristi House is Miami-Dade County's Children's Advocacy Center to address issues of child sexual abuse. We've come a long way since then, and we do a lot of things. But I took the helm here 5 years ago, and what a journey it has been. Just really incredible. I still use my legal training very often,
I'm
so
sure you
that
do.
comes in handy for sure. Um, yeah, but I love what I'm doing now, and
So tell us a little bit more then about Kristi House. You said it does advocacy. What else do you do there?
So Kristi House was, like I said, it was founded to be the Children's Advocacy Center, and that's a national model, a children's advocacy center. And so there's a lot to it, but the main function of a children's advocacy center is to really coordinate all of the different agencies that work with the child who suffered from child abuse. And so today, for example, being a Friday, we brought together all of the different organizations. So the Department of Children and Families, the State Attorney's Child Sex Battery Unit, the Child Protection Team, the Rape Treatment Center, law enforcement, and various other agencies. And every Friday they come together at Kristi House and talk about the new sexual abuse cases or other child abuse cases that have come through the DCF hotline over the last week. We also go back through other cases, and that way we can make sure that no case is falling through the cracks and that all the cases are being staffed properly with whatever that child and family needs. And then at Kristi House, so we do all this coordination of services, but then at Kristi House, we also provide all of the mental health services that those children need to heal. We provide the case coordination and advocacy services, and we also have a prevention education arm. So we're out in the community really talking to children about how to keep themselves safe and talking to adults about how to keep kids safe or what to do if a child is in an unsafe situation. So Kristi House has a really broad reach, and we serve multiple functions.
Yeah, we were talking about seed earlier. I do need to get you out there. We can talk after the interview for that,
Yeah.
for the prevention side of it. So tell us about a significant professional achievement or project you're particularly proud of.
Yeah, well, I think at Kristi House, I'm incredibly proud at the growth that we've had over the past 5 years since I've been here. We've gone from basically a $4 million operating budget to nearly 10 million. I think in fiscal year 25 will be a little over 10 million. We've added locations to make it easier for our children and families to be able to get services from us. And I think we're doing a little bit of a better job being out in the community and making people aware that we exist. And so I'm incredibly proud of the upward trajectory that Kristi House is on right now. I think it's an unfortunate service that's needed in our community, but it is needed. And so I want to be sure that people know that we're here and that we're able to meet the need in the community. And I'm really proud of that. I'm proud of the partnerships that we have in the community and the relationships that we've built. Relationships are really important to me. I think that they are critical. Collaboration is key to success for not just any organization, but any program. And we've really done such a good job of that over the last 5 years. So I'm just incredibly proud of that.
Great, congratulations. Tell us about a role model or mentor that has had a significant impact on your life.
Yeah, I've been lucky. In my legal career, I had a couple of really good mentors. I think it's over the last few years that I have a mentor now who's just really kind of taken me under his wing. I come from a legal background, so I wasn't really trained in business, and which is unfortunate. Actually, all lawyers should have to go through business classes, in my opinion, but I didn't have to. And so I never really got that kind of training. And so running a nonprofit is running a business. And it was something that I don't think I had the knowledge, and it wasn't my strength. And so I have a mentor now, Alan Potamkin. He's also the Kristi House board chair, but I knew him before he was the Kristi House board chair. And he's just really helped me. First of all, he's given me that growth mindset. So we've had all this growth, and he's really helped me with that, with the growth mindset, but also navigating that growth, but also just really looking at Kristi House. Yes, we are, which to some people means one thing, but a nonprofit is a business, and I'm running a business. We have we're about to have 7 locations, actually. We have about 85 employees. We have tenants in our buildings. So I'm running a business, and he has just really, really helped me in that department.
Tell us the best advice you've ever received.
Interestingly, the best advice I ever received was from a fellow lawyer. It was actually my boss at the time. And I remember sitting in his office, and he was talking to me. I was a trial lawyer, so I was in the courtroom a lot. And he was talking to me about, what kind of trial lawyer do you want to be? Who do you want to be like when you're in the courtroom? And I was kind of thinking about, what's he want me to say here? And, as it turned out, what he wanted me to say is you should be yourself in the courtroom. And I think that's true of not just being in the courtroom, but really of wherever you are. You have to be yourself. You have to be authentic, because you're not believable any other way. If I had tried to portray who he was in the courtroom, it definitely wouldn't have played well. When I was myself in the courtroom, it played very well to judges and juries. And it's the same way now. I'm very passionate about what I'm doing. And I think when I just allow myself to be that way and to be who I am, and I think it's a great way to go through life. It's not always easy. I think we are a society of conformists in a way, and I'm not advocating to be a total nonconformist, certainly, but I am advocating for each of us to be comfortable enough and confident enough to be ourselves.
Yeah, great advice. Tell us what you're learning about now.
What I'm learning about right now, well, I wouldn't say it's anything terribly exciting for the general population, but one thing I'm very focused on right now is sustainability and sustainability of the organization, or organizations in general. And not just, we think about sustainability from a revenue perspective very often. And so I'm obviously always very focused on that. But right now I'm also looking at it from, sustainability of people, and how we deal with change, how we deal with transition, and how we see ourselves even through those times. It's challenging in a small, well, we're not a small organization, but in an organization where you try to run it very lean because you're being very mindful of how you're spending other people's money, because that's what I'm doing. I'm spending other people's money. They donate to Kristi House. So to be a good steward of their money, but at the same time, the organization has to be able to sustain itself. And so I'm learning a lot right now about that and how to, so I wouldn't say it's necessarily the sexiest thing in the world, but it's kind of critical to what I'm doing right now. And so I'm spending some time focusing on that.
What do you like to do outside of your profession?
I love to travel, but I never get to do enough of it. I love to read. The sad thing is I'm trying to think about what I'm reading right now, and I haven't read really, like, sat down and read a great book in a while, but I do love to read. I have 2 rescue dogs and a husband, and so I love spending time with them. I have 4 stepchildren, so I also enjoy time with them and time with my family. I used to be a really big tennis player and a big runner, and I'm not doing much of either right now. Excuse me, but I do hope to get back to playing tennis at some point in the near future.
Good, good. Tell us about the most memorable event in your career.
Oh goodness, the most memorable adventure outside of my career. Wow. Hmm, that's a tough one. Probably a trip that I took. I'm just trying to think which one. Well, recently, so my husband and I had these big plans, right? We had big plans in May of 2020. We were supposed to take this fabulous trip to Israel, where he was actually supposed to propose to me. That did not happen because of COVID. And so we had some other trips planned that didn't happen. So finally, last summer, we were able to take a really great trip. And I just think it was so much fun. It was like that first trip post COVID. And so we were so happy to get out. It's the first time I'd ever taken a river cruise, which, if you've never done it, I highly recommend it. It's very different from an ocean cruise. And so we went to Europe, and we started in Amsterdam and made our way to Switzerland. And it was just, I think it was so freeing, because it was like that first trip, like I said, after COVID, we were able to get out and do whatever we wanted. And it was just like such a great, relaxing time. I took 2 weeks off of work, which I don't think I had ever done in my life. And it was much needed, and just a great adventure with my husband. I think we haven't been married that long. And so it was just really nice to be able to do that together.
Well, you mentioned reading books. Tell us what book, television show you're recommending now.
Yeah, so actually, I've been listening to this podcast. This Dr. Peter Attia, and he has a book also. It's called Outlive. So I've reading the book and listening to the podcast, and trying to figure out the keys to longevity. I think that kind of stuff is always very interesting to me. I can't say I'm the best at following all the advice that's given, but I do enjoy learning the research and getting some tips about it. I was meeting with, like, a health and wellness doctor recently, and I think we always think about wanting to look a certain way or be thin or whatever. And she was really talking to me about, like, think about what you want to be like when you're in your 70s and your 80s. The goal is really, you want to be independent and you want to be able to do all these things. And so trying to flip my brain a little bit is really helpful on those things. And I really enjoy Dr. Attia. He's interesting.
I loved the book as well. What is the book that you gift most often?
So the book I gift or I tell people I think they should read is actually the book, The Biography of Steve Jobs by Walter Isaacson. I just can't totally pinpoint it, Melanie, but I just found that book to be so fascinating and so interesting. And you have this genius character who's very flawed. And I just felt like I'll never buy a phone that's not an iPhone or an Apple phone for a variety of reasons after reading that book. But I think there's just something about it that was good for everybody to read. The good, the bad, and the ugly, sort of, but a lot of really interesting facts about him and just sort of about life in general.
Tell us a fact about you we could not find on the internet.
Facts about me you cannot find on the internet. Oh, goodness. Um, well, let's see. You could probably find this on the internet and it's not that exciting, but I have actually sat for and passed the bar exam in 4 different states, which I think just makes me a psychopath, but
Agreed.
it was not really on purpose. It's just sort of the way that life works. I don't intend to take any more bar exams ever. For a while, I had it in my head when I took the Barbary course back, way back in like 2003. The guy who had founded it had in 8 states. And so when I got to 4, I was like, oh, maybe I should keep going and like pass this guy up. And I was like, what are you thinking? Like, that's just the dumbest thing I've ever heard. So I think I'm finished taking bar exams, but I did take 4 of them. I passed them all on the first try as well.
Congrats. I do think that makes you a little bit crazy.
I
I
don't.
only took the one.
Yeah.
Last question, fun question. If you were in charge of the playlist, what song would be playing next?
So it's the Pearl Jam song "Just Breathe." Something about that song I absolutely love. It is a little bit sad, but a little bit not sad, and very calming. So I find myself playing it whenever I am in a situation or getting ready for a situation that I know is going to lead to a little bit of anxiety, or I'm a little bit in a nervous situation. I play that song, and it just always kind of calms me and centers me. And I think at this very moment, I could use a little bit of that. And so that would definitely be next on my playlist.
Awesome. Well, thank you for doing the interview. I appreciate it. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.